Do you know India received about 7,000 kg of gold and 240,000 kg of silver from the British East India Company back in 1681? Do you know that the English dictionary ended up adding 150 names of Indian textiles? Do you know soon after the Battle of Plassey, East India Company reduced the salaries of Indians in order to make them impoverished? Let us learn some facts not taught in history books in this video. Namaste everyone. As we celebrate 75th year of independence, let us try to take a quick look about some unknown facts not taught generally in history textbooks. How did traders become rulers? How did Bharat get under the foreign rule for some time? It is said disowning your roots and your culture is not modernity but cowardice of highest order. There are some myths as to why our first war of independence in the year 1857 got triggered. Was it because of certain practices like child marriage, sati pratha, because there wasn't any women empowerment, female infanticide was rampant, or it was a lack of unity? Also, you might have heard of few arguments as to British rule wasn't that bad because British gave us formal system of education. Did they give us laws? Did they give us railways? Did they give us telephone and telegraph? And did they empower women by abolishing practices like sati? Did they make us more civilized? As per one of the popular Hindi movies, why did Mangal Pandey open fire on 29th of March 1857? Was he inspired by the words of Hira prostitute? Was Mangal Pandey under the influence of alcohol or opium, as the Major Commission stated in their report? Has his action not been attributed as an attempt for the first moment of independence? Come, let us find out what the truth is by watching the video till the end. Let us try to divide this video in two parts. How India was before the entry of British East India Company and how India got transformed after the entry of British East India Company. That would help us understand as to how they turned from traders to rulers. What exactly triggered the first war of independence in 1857? Let us go back in time in 14th, 15th and 16th century. There was a thought process. Whichever country has lots of gold and lots of silver is the richest. This was known as Bullionism, or in Hindi, Bahumulya Dhatuvad. And another thought that more you colonize, the more powerful you are. This was known as colonialism. Back around 1600, finished goods from Bharat was in great demand in entire world. The goods were not limited to finest textiles, silks, saltpeter, sugar, indigo. It was much more. Bharat contributed about 22 to 25% of the world GDP. Do you know how much Bharat received from East India Company alone? In the year 1681 to 1685, Bharat received around 7,000 kg of gold and 2,40,000 kg of silver only for textiles. This number, these numbers were only for 1681 to 1685, by the way. The gold of such value today is about 3,580 crore rupees. In other words, Bharat exported finished goods and got gold and silver in return. Try adjusting the value of this by inflation number in today's context. Just talking about the textiles and nothing else, about 40% of the imports by the British East India Company was from Bengal alone. Napoleon banned imports from Bharat in order to support artists and weavers from his region. English dictionary ended up adding 150 new names of Bharatiya textiles in its dictionary. Forget about making such textiles, they did not even have names for such textiles. This was the Bharat, innovative, sustainable, artistic, beautiful, wealthy. Because of these reasons, Portuguese, French, Dutch, and finally British, everyone fancied to trade with Bharat. Let us talk about the rise of British East India Company. On 24th of September 1599, Governor and Company of Merchants of London trading with East Indies was founded, which is what is known as British East India Company. Because the distance between Britain and India was long through a sea route, the company faced a major challenge in enforcing the code of good behavior for its employees. In other words, let us say some employee of the company did anything wrong while he was on the ship. The company needed to return back to Britain to complain and get the justice delivered. Hence, in the year 1623, the company asked for the grant of a charter to have the power to punish people, anyone who has not acted in the best interests of the company. They promised that the enforcement would be in line with the laws made out of British Parliament. Hence, the jurisdiction of British Parliament started taking into an extended jurisdiction via the company voyages. Because they faced tough rivals like French, Portuguese, Dutch, the British East India Company started picking up fights and rivalry. They had a desire to defend themselves. Hence, in the year 1661, they requested for another charter from the British Crown for permission to have arms and ammunition and wage wars. Look at what the charter says. They were authorized to send ships of war, men, and ammunition to make peace or war with any non-Christian people in any places of their trade for the advantage and benefit of the company and their trade. The influence of British East India Company started increasing. They set up the factory in Orissa in 1633, in Hooghly in 1651 and 52, in 1666 in Bombay. Mughals constantly had a fight with Hindu kings. Chhatrapati Shambhu son of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, was brutally tortured by Aurangzeb for not getting converted from Hinduism. Just to fight against Marathas, a trade license was issued by Aurangzeb to British East India Company in the year 1692. Another blunder was done by Mughal ruler Farooq Siyar. This same Farooq Siyar had brutally ripped out the heart of a 4-year-old son of a Sikh Guru, Banda Singh Bahadur, and later on went on to torture and kill Sikh Guru Banda Singh Bahadur again for not converting from Sikhism. British East India Company gifted toys to Farooq Siyar while he was a child. As Farooq Siyar grew up, because of his lifestyle, he ended up developing a swelling in his groin region. Groin is a part between your thighs and abdomen. This swelling was cured by a physician, William Hamilton, working for British East India Company. In the year 1717, Farooq Siyar issued a Dastak pass to the company. This Dastak pass allowed company to trade without any taxes. This was the biggest mistake committed. Why was that? We will see that subsequently. The company started misusing Dastak pass. British East India Company started issuing further passes to the smaller traders under it at a price. This started causing revenue loss to the state. For example, let us say a small trader was paying about 100 rupees taxes directly to the monarch. The same trader got registered under British East India Company. The company charged a relatively smaller fee than the total tax liability of about 80 rupees. Because the smaller trader was registered under East India Company and because the company had a Dastak pass, it had no tax liability to be paid. In short, company abused the Dastak pass issued by Farooq Siyar. Angered by the losses caused by the company, which pocketed huge sums, Siraj-ud-Dawla launched an attack on the factory of the company. By that time, since 1661 charter, company had developed army equipped with arms and ammunition fully. At the village of Palashi, which is named after a Palash tree that it had, in the year 1757, Battle of Palashi or Plassey was fought. In this, brother-in-law Siraj-ud-Dawla was bribed with favors. Siraj-ud-Dawla was defeated treacherously by the company. Mir Qasim, the brother-in-law of Sirajud-Dowla, was appointed as a puppet ruler by the company. Just after that, Robert Clive from British East India Company passed orders to reduce the salaries of Indians to such an extent that no surplus must be available at the time of crisis. This caused quite a lot of impoverishment among Indians. The main intent was to make Indians weaker and weaker so that they must not be able to stand up against the company. Robert Clive walked away with approximately 1 lakh 80,000 pounds, which is about 24 million pounds in today's inflation rate. In the year 1764, Nawab of Awadh, Shuja-ud-Dawla, Shah Alam II, fought with the company again, asserting the claims of misuse of Dastak Pass. The company defeated all of these. Shah Alam II made a second biggest mistake on 12th of August 1764. He ended up signing Treaty of Allahabad that gave the company tax collection rights of his region at a mere price of 26 lakh rupees per year. Later on, company stopped paying this amount as well. Why was this a major mistake? Because any company's strength lies in its defense. And this defense comes from finance. The company actually had controlled the finance this time. With tax collection rights, the company also got the powers to decide what to tax, how much to tax, and now the company was starting to leverage these advantages. Around 1761, in the Maratha administered regions, Marathas faced Third War of Panipat. The Mughals ruling in Indian regions sided with Afghan attacker Ahmad Shah Abdali against Marathas. Despite this, Marathas ended up defeating East India Company during 1775 to 1782 in the First Anglo-Maratha War. Back in England, a development of steam engine progressed from 1717 to 1784. Newcomen had invented the first steam engine. A question was raised in the British Parliament that our engines are running empty. We need raw materials from India and not the finished goods. With tax collection rights, the company also got the powers to decide what to tax and how much to tax. And now the company was starting to leverage these advantages. Companies started levying heavy duties on finished goods in India. They started levying taxes on those farmers who grew surplus food crops. They were encouraged to grow cash crops like cotton and indigo to fuel their industrial revolution. Systematically, the textiles art in Bharat was destroyed brick by brick. 1757 onwards, finished goods was sent to Bharat for sale, and the company carried back the gold and silver in return. This was the economic drain. While the GDP in 1600 was 22.4%, in 1820 it was 16.1%, in 1870 it was 12.2%. By the time Bharat was independent, it was mere 3.8%. Then further came the policies like subsidiary alliance, wherein company provided military services to the princely state in India, and in return the king was supposed to pay up the price to the company. Later, companies started placing company representative at the darbars of Indian kings, which started reporting day-to-day activities of the administration. Mughal king Wajid Ali Shah was kicked out of Awadh in the year 1856. Lord Dalhousie came with the doctrine of lapse, wherein if a king or a queen does not have a heir to the throne, then the region would be annexed by the company. Hindu queen Kitturani Chennamma won 2 out of 3 wars along with her military commander Sangoli Rayanna. It was the third time she was defeated by the company. Same with Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi, along with Tatya Tope, fought courageously, unlike Mughal king Wajid Ali Shah, who survived rest of his life on British pension. Because company soldiers stayed away from the family, company started setting up brothels. Young girls were arrested under false accusations of soliciting for prostitution. Following is the excerpt. A high caste Brahmin girl, not able to understand a word of the language of her captor, found deserted and starving. The captor admitted that she was perfectly respectable girl. Yet she was examined by the surgeon, her name entered on the list of prostitutes and taken to the lock hospital to be prepared for her fate. The poor thing was so grateful to be taken in and fed, and little dreamt of what would be demanded her in return. We tried in vain to make her understand us and to warn her of her fate. This is an excerpt from Queen's Daughter in India by Elizabeth Andrew and Katharine Bushnell. The extent of loot, as per Dadabhai Naoroji's book about economic drain of India, accounts as annual drain of about 3 million pounds on British India has amounted in 30 years at 12%, compound interest to the enormous sum of about 723 million pounds sterling. So constant and accumulating a drain, even in England, would soon impoverish her. Now comes the main question as why did 1857 get sparked? Why did Mangal Pandey open fire on 29th of March 1857? Was he inspired by the words of Hira prostitute? Was Mangal Pandey under the influence of alcohol or opium? Or has his action not been attributed as an attempt for the first movement of independence? The major reason was handicrafts' decline. Major duties were imposed. Famines weren't new to Bharat because we had a technology to stock food. However, after getting the tax collection rights, they increased the taxes on food crops. They wanted to grow cash crops. Vicious circle of hunger got developed. Because pregnant women weren't nourished sufficiently, they gave birth to malnourished children. Further, these children weren't able to perform to the fullest human potential, causing a vicious cycle of poverty. Average life expectancy got reduced around mere 32 years. Warren Hastings proudly wrote back to the Crown that tax collection was at its peak during the famine, and even violence was used to snatch away the belongings to recover the taxes due. As per General Service Enlistment Act, the company sent the employees across the sea. Crossing the sea was challenged by the people following Hindu faith. This was actually seen as an interference in the religion. Even after 1857, freedom fighters like Lokmanya Balagangadhar Tilak, Vasudev Balwant Phadke, Veer Savarkar, everyone was sent to prison that involved crossing the sea, which was a deliberate attempt to attack on the Hindu faith. Racism and ill treatment was rampant. Lord Mayo himself has said, teach our subordinates that we are all British gentlemen engaged in the magnificent work of governing an inferior race. Also, because of the new cartridges, which was actually dipped in cow fats and pig fats, this challenged the faith of Hindus as well as those brothers following the faith of Islam, because Hindus hold the cow as mother. It was because of these reasons that the volcano of anger had erupted on 29th of March 1857. Mangal Pandey was hanged to death on 8th of April 1857. Her, as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Nayanam Chindanti Shastrani, Nayanam Dahati Pavakaha, Nachayanam Kledyantyaapo, Na Shoshayati Marutaha. Weapons cannot shred the soul, nor can fire burn it. Water cannot wet it, nor can the wind dry it. This incident rekindled the fire of getting freedom from foreign rule. Now let us revisit what British gave us. While British gave formal education system, they ended up destroying wonderful Gurukul system that taught universal brotherhood of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, Raj Dharma, wherein music, math, literature were in cohesion. British gave laws. They also violated basic human rights at Jallianwala Bagh and at Cellular Jail at Port Blair. British constructed railways. Indians never afforded a 2 square meals a day. Forget about traveling in such trains. British came up with so-called women empowerment. They actually set up brothels. Even today in Mumbai's Kamathipura, there is a lane known as Safed Gully or White Lane, where company actually got European prostitutes. Now let us break another set of myths. Child marriage was a ploy used by Indian families to put a counter suit of adultery if at all a girl was abducted by the company. After reaching puberty, the girl was married as per her choice. The child marriage was shown only on papers. Now let us see Sati Pratha, where Kausalya, Sumitra, or Kaikeyi forced to undergo sati. Sati was used again cleverly by the company for those widows who were inheriting large sums of money from their deceased husbands. Lack of unity. It was more like siding the East India Company. Aurangzeb issued trade license. Farooq Chiar issued Dastak Pass. Nawab of Pataudi actually sided the company. Try finding out who is Nawab of Pataudi. Female infanticide. If female infanticide was the reason for 1857, how did Rani Chennamma, Rani Lakshmibai became queens? Even today, apex courts of this country is now taking up the question as to whether women must go on borders to fight. We had a glorious and a golden history where women of this country fought with great courage and great valor with the company. After all, history would continue to teach till we learn our lessons right. Vande Mataram.